Hello and welcome to the Restricted Area Podcast, where we break down all things NBA and WNBA from this past week. As a reminder, you can hear this podcast the day before it can be seen on YouTube by checking out Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. I am your host, Alex Perez, joined by producer Colton Smith. How we doing?
Doing good. It's busy times for me. I had some unexpected, I almost said Valentine's plans, but plans that happened to come on Valentine's Day. Don't worry, ladies, I'm still single. And then I did end up going to a hockey game yesterday. Came home, immediately did a live stream for the old Slide Job podcast, and then work's getting really busy because the season's starting up this Saturday. But I'm had a pre-planned trip that I'll be taking this weekend as well. So it's just been a lot. But throughout it all, I watched a somewhat enjoyable All-Star weekend and some enjoyable college basketball too. I can't not mention that. So, yeah, good weekend for sports. Good weekend for myself. And yeah, how you been?
Pretty good. I'm actually a little sad for this upcoming weekend because we had the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago, All Star Weekend this past weekend. So not much going on this weekend. But anyways, yeah, had fun watching what was that revamped All Star Weekend. Certainly some highlights and some lowlights that need to still be fixed, but we will get into that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, besides that, had some Valentine's plans. Went out to eat and bowling with star guest star, I guess, because he doesn't really come on too much. But Matthew Supinger, we went out with our friend Haley. So we had a good time. And then
Oh.
Sunday I did a whole lot of nothing. So less busy than you for sure. So we'll see what I can get into this week.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we will go ahead and get started. Another exciting week in professional basketball. Golden, what stood out to you?
Yeah, so my focus is definitely on the All-Star weekend. I'm sure there's some conversations we can have, but just kind of recapping some of the events that I tuned into. I did tune into the overall All-Star game. I don't really have much to say upon it, except I did find it more exciting than recent years, but that bar is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to give huge credit to the Stripes because that was the team we kind of made fun of, right? They ended up running the table. So shout out the Stripes. Oh, they didn't win the first game, so I guess they didn't run the table. But they did their thing. Did better than I thought they would. But anyways, I wanted to, of course, start with the 3-point contest. My boy Dame Dolla doesn't touch a basketball floor. Well, clearly he had been touching a basketball floor, but hasn't been, in the arena for a game in months, and still rehabbing on that torn Achilles. And he is able to come back and win the 3-point contest in what was pretty thrilling fashion. Like Dame was able to, or Con Knipple started out the game as Alex has disappeared. Hopefully, get back in here. Um, welcome back, Alex. You froze, and my I'm trying to keep my train of thought while your face was just stuck on the same screen.
I was about to say
um,
you froze when you were going like this. So I was like, okay.
okay. Love when that happens. Gotta love this program. But yeah, so where I was at, I was just recapping the 3-point contest. Dame Doll, of course, getting the dub, but it was really fun. Con Knipple came in the first shooter, first round, and put up a performance. Got into the final round, and then Dame Miller did his thing. I think he had 30 in the first round. Devin Booker was looking very, very clean, and he made it to the final round. Norman Powell, Bobby Portis could have foreseen that. More of a catch and shoot type of guy, like get it in his pocket and shoot it, not really the grab it and bring it up. So can't really
Yeah.
fault him for that. But I mean, I'm the same way, so I literally can't fault him for that. But we get to the final round. Dame sets a pretty decent score of 29. Khan doesn't have the same magic he had in the first round, but still impressive he made it this far. And then Devin Booker had it all and essentially pulled a finals run that he had back in 2021, where he just had the money balls and he needed three of them. He needed one of them,
Yep.
and had 3 chances to get that, did not get that. And Dame Dalla gets the win, his third, adding to his legacy, man. His
Yeah.
third 3-point shooting contest champ. I mean, at this point, if he wasn't already a Hall of Famer, which he is, but he certainly is a Hall of Famer here, and maybe first ballot after this one, guys. But no, all jokes aside, I really do enjoy the 3-point contest. Maybe I'm a little biased, but uh, I do really enjoy the 3-point contest. I don't think it's something that doesn't take like an absurd amount of time, so long
Mm.
as the show doesn't make it take longer than it should. But I also just feel like it's you get to see the most talented 3-point shooters, which is when we get to the dunk contest, it's something that we're missing. But getting the most out of them, and that they're pretty well competing for a win. They want that title. That's it's not like super high effort for them. So yeah, I really do enjoy the 3-point contest. So glad it's stuck around. But the dunk contest,
Yikes.
yikes indeed. And Alex, you were hyping up Jackson Hayes. You had me thinking Jackson Hayes was going to do something.
That's on me. That's on me. You're right.
I mean, if I had like 3 more inches on my vertical, I could do what Jackson Hayes did right there.
Yeah,
Just
put
a
up an
little, doop,
absolute stinker. Yeah.
doop. I mean, come on now. Like you know you're in the dunk contest, and you couldn't like try to think up. And that's just not the dunker that I feel like Hayes is. Well, no, he can do better. What did you say he did?
Yeah. He did
Like
an East Bay during game, like between the legs. Like bring something like that. It was just the most basic thing you could bring, and yeah, he brought it. What
yeah,
what a, what a
and
player.
for the life of me, I have to pull up the article that I should have written it down in my notes. Who actually won it? It was another G leaguer. Was it not?
Rashad Jenkins, is that his name? I can't even remember.
No, Kashaw Johnson. Kashaw Johnson.
I was
Um,
close.
yeah, another Heat person. Was Dwayne Wade on the voting committee again? Like, I don't even know. I really thought Chase Richardson was going to get it, but didn't. Nobody really had anything, and that's the problem. Like, I don't think I really need to overstate it. Either we get rid of this contest because we have done everything that needs to be done, or we bring in legitimate dunkers that move the needle, like Mac McClung.
Mhm.
Uh, I think Stephon Castle last year put up a great performance as
Yeah.
well. Like get people like that. You had Jalen Duren, he got hurt. That's unfortunate. But if Jalen Duren was in this field, he would have absolutely wiped the floor with them. So I don't know. Like it's just disappointing because Mac McClung should be able to compete. I seen the dunks he was
For
saying he would
sure.
have done if he was in the dunk contest. Like obviously he should be in here. And is that unfair? Perchance, like just how good he is, and he's just a G League player. But I wish somebody would take it upon themselves to actually compete in the dunk contest and bring this back to what it is. Because if you don't have that, then just take it out. And you know
Yeah.
what we need to replace it with? A one-on-one tournament because Unrivaled showed us that very how much more entertaining that is than the dunk
Hmm.
contest or even portions of the All-Star game, which I'm not trying to dog on it because I do think this was one of the better ones I can think of in a while. Just because of the fun factor. All but one game was within a handful of points. Game winner, De'Aaron Fox, 42, getting the 42nd point for the Stripes. The other game, the Stars versus the World, went 37-35. So all around, I think on the entertainment side, definitely up for the actual All-Star games. But Alex, I'll throw it back to you. What were your thoughts on the whole weekend, and what do you want to bring up?
Yeah, the dunk contest continues to baffle me because it's obviously an ego thing. That's why we're not having a one-on-one tournament. That's why we're not having real stars in the dunk contest because people are too worried about their pride and getting laughed out on Twitter, which is stupid. But fine, if they don't want to do it, we have a celebrity all-star game. We have a celebrity three-point contest. Let's have a celebrity dunk contest. There are plenty of dunkers, especially people on YouTube and stuff. There's even a show on TNT about it now. Maybe get some of those guys that we've seen on Twitter, on Instagram. to come and dunk and put on a great show. We may not recognize their name the best, but if we see eye popping dunks, we're not going to care. So I think that is a way that we could fix it, or as you said, get rid of it for something better. The 3 point contest, very exciting. Our friend Josh Northcutt texted me to ask me about Devin Booker and if he would actually compete. And I said, yes, I think so, because he takes those things seriously, like pickup basketball, 3 point contest, takes them very seriously. The regular season, well, we won't talk about that, but he takes those things very seriously. But yeah, added to not only the Hall of Fame career of Damian Lillard, but the Hall of Fame picks from me and you, because we called it. We knew this was coming, and I'm so glad that it did. All-Star game was very exciting. Kawhi going berserk was
Hmm.
awesome to see. People competing. Wemby being super mad at the end of the first game was very good to see. Uh, the third game was a bit of a letdown, but I think the old heads just got down 10 early and we're like, we're not doing this. We're not putting any energy or risk of injury at stake. So we're not going to play very hard. But overall, I think it was a success and something that they could definitely build on. I know Steph already talked about next 3 point contest is going to have him, uh, Dame, Devin Booker, and at least Clay Thompson. So excited to see who they add to that list, but that could be an all-time 3 point contest down there in Phoenix if we make that happen. Hopefully they get that done. And let's see. But yeah, that's really my thoughts on it. And I will go ahead and go with my storylines. Big thing that stood out to me: Chris Paul, the illustrious career, the 21 season career has concluded. Um, some of his highlights and accolades: 2006 Rookie of the Year. He was on the NBA 75 team, second in all time assists and steals, 12-time All Star, 11 times All NBA, 9-time All Defense. I do want to pose a question to you because we've had this discussion on previous podcasts. Allen Iverson was my pick first. So does Chris Paul now move in to that top spot of best player to never win a title?
It's a rough debate. You have those debates in all sports. I know the one in NASCAR is pretty out of the water, but looking at Chris Paul versus Allen Iverson, it really comes down to, I think, preference. If you're going to talk about the body of work, the accolades, not that Allen Iverson doesn't have them, but he has them in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand why somebody would go with Chris Paul, because Chris Paul did played at a pretty similar level. Never really an MVP level. Some years in New Orleans, maybe, but I would
Yeah.
never really say MVP Chris Paul. Maybe fact check me on that. And there's a year that he finished high in the MVP voting. But he still was very consistent, consistently an All NBA, All Star talent throughout his career, and it was a long career. I'd say really until he lost in the NBA Finals to the Bucks. I don't think there was much talks of regression from CP3. So
Mm-hmm.
that was as late as 2021. So if you're going to go with that, I would say Chris Paul. But if we're going to say the most talented player to not win a championship, Allen Iverson is probably going to take my pick. I think you look at the team that he brought to the finals,
Yeah.
and that could answer all your questions on that front. But I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think these are probably the two top ones. Carl Malone has to be put in there, but I'll say he's disqualified for his, personality.
Off the court
And
action. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and John Stockton, I think definitely is a name to mention there. But I would say those two are probably the two top ones, and it's for that reason. I think Iverson's the most talented, but Paul probably career wise takes the cake on that. So I think it can go either way. I'm not going to say you're wrong if you go Paul or if you go Iverson. Me
Yeah.
personally, I'll probably say Iverson.
I think I would also stick with my Iverson claim because I think you're asking two things. I think you're asking stats versus influence, because Allen Iverson is arguably the most influential player to ever
That too.
make part in the NBA. So I'm still going to stick with Allen Iverson, but Chris Paul, obviously one of the best point guards of all time, and statistically one of the best players to ever play the game. So, uh, shout out to him. If he's not number one, he's number two in my book. So that's not a bad place to be. He still had an illustrious career and many great seasons.
Can I raise a question that we'll have to answer in the next couple of years?
What's that?
Russell Westbrook.
Hmm. See, I feel like Russell Westbrook may be looked down upon before the same thing because longevity wasn't really his strong suit down the stretch. It hasn't really been great down the stretch
Mm-hmm.
of his career. At his peak, obviously underrated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Average triple doubles, and obviously that was just looked at like, yeah, that's everybody should be doing that. No, it's a historically great thing that should be recognized. Does he move into three? Maybe, but I still think those two are above him.
That's fair. I think it's a very it's something I have to sit and think about maybe a little bit more because I think he's the perfect mixture of both. I think Prime Westbrook
That's a great
is
point.
arguably like Iverson was a way more talented offensive talent. I'm not trying to argue against that, but I feel like Russell Westbrook, rebounding, passing, definitely had Iverson beat. So you can make the argument that Westbrook was a better all around player. I'm not necessarily sitting here today to make that argument, but he's on that level, a caliber of player
Right.
when you look at it. And he also had a pretty he had more longer career than that of Allen Iverson, at least a
That is
longer
true.
prime, I should say. His prime went well into Lakers. So when he went to the Lakers, that's pretty well his prime came
Yeah.
to a screeching halt. Even on the Wizards, was he putting up wilt numbers on a team with nobody? Sure, but he still got that team like eighth seed in the East. So more power to him. But yeah, I think that's going to be. I don't know if I probably put him at number three, but I think it's something I'd have to think about. And maybe he gets himself a random ring out of nowhere these next couple of years, but definitely won't be on the Kings. So he's got to have a couple more years in him if he wants to achieve that.
Yeah, my last point on this, because this is a fascinating topic, actually, now that you bring it up. Is the height in any factor part of this conversation? Because I feel like Allen Iverson and Chris Paul being this high on the list, that's part of it. Like, they're not super duper athletes. Allen Iverson, definitely more than
Correct.
Chris Paul, but Russell Westbrook, a super freak in terms of athleticism.
Hmm.
So at some point, you got to look at him and be like, you got to make a difference to where your team is getting to a
Hmm.
championship and competing for a
Hmm.
championship, winning championships. So maybe that
Hmm.
unfairly hurts his argument for top player never won a championship, but I think it's
Very
definitely part
true.
of the argument.
Because he never had his team other than when he had Kevin Durant and James Harden. His team was, and he wasn't obviously the lead player on that team. He
Right.
only once made the conference finals, was still Kevin Durant, no James Harden, which I do think Westbrook was a big part in that run. But
Hmm.
uh, really, just having that one run in the Western Conference Finals and having the finals run in 12, I would probably stick with Paul and Iverson on that. But I think Westbrook's one that enters his name in the conversation if he doesn't get one before he retires.
Yeah, those lack of runs hurt his stock and Kevin Durant's, but we could talk about that at a later date. The last thing I wanted to hit on, the highly anticipated, unrivaled 1v1 tournament took place this weekend. It was the best thing that happened this weekend. They kind of snatched the chain of the NBA. Let me run through some things that happened over this whole tournament. In the first round, rookie Sonia Citron beat Marina Mabrey. That was an upset. It was the first game, so we started hot. Paige Beckers went up 8-0 on Kate Martin, something we all expected. But Kate Martin scored five straight. Paige Becker still won. Second round, Kelsey Plum 12-0 versus Natisha Heidemann. Yikes. Paige Beckers beat Enrique Gumbawales, a game I was very excited for. And Paige Beckers was down 0-3 in that game. So shout out to her for her perseverance. Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, teammates in the regular WNBA, foes in Unrivaled. they were going at it. They take this very seriously, and again, I hope the NBA does this at some point because, wow,
Good
did
Lord.
these ladies put on a show? 12-6, Chelsea Gray over Jackie Young, and one thing that surprised me in the second round was Leah Boston beat Brianna Stewart 11-6. So shout out to her. And in the third round, in the battle of the Kelseys, Kelsey Plum beat Kelsey Mitchell 11-7 in a very fun game of guards. Uh, Chelsea Gray took Paige Beckers to school. It was 11-2. Uh, didn't really see that happening, but rookies got to get schooled sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, she
And
might need a schooling in some of the rules of basketball in terms of what is an on the floor foul, because that was far from an on the floor foul.
yeah, she is
But
a
I
very
I can't
competitive
act like
person.
I can't act like I ain't be doing the same thing.
I think the heat of competition might have affected her brain during that play, so I'll let it slide because same thing might have happened to me. I mean, 200K was on the line, so that's a good chunk of change.
For real.
Uh, Aaliyah Boston then went 12-0 against Aaliyah Edwards in the Battle of Aaliyahs. In the semis, Kelsey Plum started up 8-0 against Chelsea Gray, but lost 12-8. Chelsea Gray showing why she's a dog and might end up being the MVP this year in Unrivaled. Then Gray goes up 9-0 to start versus Alicia Gray, I should say, goes up 9-0 to start versus Leah Boston and holds on for a 12-9 victory. But Boston made a heck of a comeback. And then in the finals, Chelsea Gray won the championship 7-6 after Alicia Gray went up 6-0. 7-6. Chelsea Gray scored 7 straight points, down 6-0, playing to
Wow.
7, and won
She
two
just toying
hundred
with her
thousand
food.
dollars. Yeah, it was a sight to see. 7 straight points, and just continues to show why she's the baddest woman in Unrivaled. So, again, NBA, please make this happen. It's
Good
very
Lord.
simple. Put all the egos aside. It will be the best thing you have all season, apart from maybe the finals, but it can be done. And people can be friends afterwards, I promise. Because I promise all the
Yeah.
people in Unrivaled are still friends. But they did get
You
clowned,
think
and
Beckers and
they'll get over
Gray
it.
are still friends?
Well, I don't know if they were friends to start with, so they may not be the
Yeah.
best of friends, and it may carry over to the rest of the Unrivaled season. But again, that makes for
Yeah,
better
I saw
basketball. More people are going to tune in.
they're like chemistry. Their chemistry went -50 on that one.
Yeah,
Teammate Gray.
but again, that makes for better basketball at the end of the season too, because people are
Mhm.
tuning into those games where they hate each other. Nothing
Mhm.
fuels TV views more than hate. So NBA, make it happen. That's all I got to say.
All right.
But that'll do it for our storylines. And we didn't have basketball in the NBA besides the All Stars. So that did not change power rankings. So instead of power rankings this week, we're going to bring you our hot takes, the biggest hot take we have for the second half of the season. Colton, what you got?
My hot take is that the current MVP race is Jaylen Brown versus Cade Cunningham versus the
Ooh,
minimum amount of games rule. So
ooh, okay.
it's a hot take, but if you look at it, Josh sent me this, and I'll pull it up to get the exact numbers. I know Shea has 11 games he can miss left, which I think he will be able to be fine on that. So it's probably Shea, but this is a hot take, so I went with it. And if Shea does not get that, Jokic only has 1 game of cushion, I believe. And then come on, I
Yeah,
know what
Jokic has
these
one
are.
game left.
Jokic has 1 game left. Let's be honest, he's not getting that. Steph has 1 game left. Let's be honest, he's not getting that. Wemby only has 3 games left. Maybe, but probably not. Kawhi has 4. Doncic has 6. So I would say all of those people are above the 2 people I mentioned for sure.
Hmm.
Maybe Kawhi, you can make an argument between Kawhi and Cade, sure, but I don't think we have to worry about the 4. games anyway. So I would say Shea is really the only one on that list with 11 games left that won't fall below the required games played. So uh, even still, he is hurt. I think they're being just a little overly cautious with it. But if it comes down to another MVP or fully healthy Shea for the playoffs, I think the Thunder go in that direction.
Hmm.
But who knows? So I think that leaves it to Jaylen Brown versus Cade Cunningham, which of course Josh then adds to the text. We may have the worst MVP ever, which is honestly fair, but it's not an undeserving one. Jaylen Brown has turned so many heads with how
Right.
he's done in Boston and has his team second or third in the East right now. Cade Cunningham is on the best team in the East, the best player on the best team in the East, and has been balling his shoes off. So I think they're while yeah, Shea deserves it more, Wimby, Kawhi, all of them, sure. If this does end up being the result, I'm not complaining. I do think that we might want to consider changing around this minimum game rule because I guess just make it lower. I don't know
Yeah.
because if we're still saying at this point with with the amount of games played that's below that number, and we're still saying these people should be MVPs, then the number is probably too high. Uh, and I still think it should exist, but I think we've maybe set the bar too. I was at 65, maybe
Yeah.
lower it to 60, 55. 55 is probably the best one right there. Like think of it like a 55 win team. That's a good team. I don't know if that really accounts to anything, but that's the analogy I'll use. But yeah, that's my hot take going in the second half of the season. Jaylen Brown, Cade Cunningham, your MVP season is here.
Yeah, I don't know how quickly they can make those negotiations happen, but I feel like that rule will be changed very quickly, especially if it ends up being a Cade Cunningham or Jaylen Brown winning MVP. I think that gets changed very quickly. Cade would be one of the quieter names, I think, to ever win MVP. And Jaylen Brown, I wouldn't go as far to say he'd be the worst because uh, that'd be the most resilient MVP, maybe in my opinion. Somebody who's been looked at as a number two and can even be a number two uh, on a championship contender into the number two team in the East, and somebody who is playing really well and way above expectations. So I wouldn't call him the worst MVP ever. If he wins it, I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think Shea's going to end up winning it. But I think if we had Logan on the show, he would also agree with you that Shea should be there for the finals and not for an MVP because he has plenty of seasons to get more. But yeah, my hot take is not really a hot take. It probably would have been at the beginning of the season. But mine is I think the Spurs end up winning the top overall seed, the number one seed in the West. Um, I see the Thunder losing a couple games, especially if Shea can't get back as quick as he might like. And the Spurs are just playing the best basketball of the season. And Wemby, I don't again bring it up. I don't know if y'all saw how competitive he is, especially at the end of that All Star game. He's ready to compete and be at his very best. So if he's competing for possibly an MVP, possibly the top seed, they're going to be firing on all cylinders. So I think they will overtake the Thunder for that number one seed and make for a very interesting first couple of rounds in the Western Conference playoffs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can kind of see that shift happening. I think the Thunder are kind of reminiscent of that year the Nuggets. Well, they're not really reminiscent of when they went. Nuggets were like the one seed and then like kind of
Mm-hmm.
coasted off in the following season and went down. They went down to the 4 seed. That wasn't really a truly fair comparison, but it did come to mind for me, I guess. But no, all in all, I do think the Thunder with Shea out are going to drop some games. He's not the only one out on that team. So J Dub I think is out again already. Like came in
Mm-hmm.
for 5 seconds and was out again. Maybe he'll
For a
be
cup of
back
coffee.
after the yeah came back for a cup of coffee. But maybe he'll be back after the All Star break. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I think the Thunder know they're trying to go back to back. They're not trying to win the most games this
Hmm.
season. Now that they were for a while, don't get it twisted. They were on that path. They have now lost that, and I think no, there's trying to get right for the playoffs, which is what playoff teams do, and that's sometimes when you take off the gas, you can't quite get as fast as you were when you were going full throttle, so that can backfire. And if the Spurs, if they're gunning for that top spot, they might just already be in full throttle by the time we get to the playoffs. So it can really go one of two ways. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how that race plays out. It's going to probably end up being one of the more interesting first seed. I mean, last year, everyone just lapped the field.
Yeah.
So having like an interesting race, the East could still open up, but I don't know if I see the Pistons going anywhere. In theory, it could though, but I do think the West could end up shaping up if the Nuggets get back healthy. They could even make a stride for that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's I don't know. I agree that might not be too out of a take, but I think it's a good one, and I think the West is going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on for the second half of the year for sure.
Yeah, I could see the Nuggets doing it too if Aaron Gordon wasn't out, but he's going to be out for an extended period of time, so that may hurt them just like I plan on it hurting the Thunder, honestly. But that will do it for our hot takes, and now we'll move on to our NBA Pick'em, where we pick our winners for the top games in the association this week. Not many days to choose from. Action doesn't resume back until Thursday, but I got one for you all on Thursday, 7 p.m. on League Pass. It's the Houston Rockets at the Charlotte Hornets. Colton, who you got?
You're trying to bait me over here. I mean, the Hornets, the unwelcome friend in the play-in tournament, going up against the Rockets. I really want to go with the Hornets here, but I'm not. I'm going to go with the Rockets, a team that's played the high quality ball pretty well throughout the season. Are a playoff team, a proven playoff team. Maybe not in this form, but with proven playoff players on there. So I feel like, especially with considering all the rest and whatnot, I'm gonna go with the Rockets here. But give me that to be a fun show because the Hornets are a fun team to watch.
For sure, I will definitely be tuned into that one. Uh, I think I'm going to go with the Hornets in this one. I know they're going to be without Bridges. I know they're going to be without Diabate, but I think because of that, the role players and the players that have been doing so much really behind the scenes and uncredited are going to step up and shine to kind of show that they are focused and not really focused on what happened a couple days ago with that skirmish. So I think they're going to try to show that they are focused and ready to compete for a deep playoff run, and that starts with beating good teams. And the Rockets are obviously a very good team. So give me the Hornets in this one. And then the other one I have Sunday 6:30 on Peacock, Celtics at the Lakers, the best rivalry in NBA. Who you got?
It's interesting because I don't have like who's on the run to base off of. So uh I I think I'm gonna rock with where's it at? Is it in
It's
Boston?
at LA.
At LA.
Mm-hmm.
I think then go with the home team here because that's got to give me a little better chance. I'll go with the home team, make Alex proud, and uh, pick the Lakers to get this one done. But that's another one that should be a great game if everyone is there and well rested. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
give me LA.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this one. No bias pick here. I'm going with the Lakers, though. The best rivalry, like I said, in the NBA. Boston still trying to play for the first in the East, but I think they won't be as hungry as the Lakers, who are trying to stay out of the play-in for what 3 out of the last 4 years. So I think they are a little more focused and motivated to get this game than the Celtics may be. Hopefully, DeAndre Ayton's playing because if not, Vooch may dominate inside. So I hope not. I hope Ayton is playing, but if he is, I think the Lakers can win this one in a very close, competitive, fun game, as many of the games have been in this series' storied rivalry. And we will go ahead and move on to our shooting star, where it's time to pick our baller of the week. Colton, who you got?
Yeah, my shooting star this week, I talked about him a little earlier, De'Aaron Fox for that game-winning
Mm,
three. Game two for the Stripes, getting that beautiful shot that I think is one of the more fun All Star game moments that we've had this decade for sure. So great sidestep three. Didn't really know De'Aaron Fox had that in his bag. I mean, I know he's got a deep bag, but 3 pointers never been huge for him. But absolute beauty of a shot to get the job done and what was a really fun finish. So give me Darren Fox as my baller of the week.
That's a beautiful pick. And what was also beautiful was how many All Stars from the University of Kentucky were at this weekend. How many were there? To quote the wise poet Drake, I don't know, but it's a lot. So
Yeah,
shout
for
out.
Wildcat, that's a UK Wildcat jersey right there.
He wears Kentucky blue or something. He once said. Shout out all the All Stars from Kentucky, but that is not my shooting star. Mine is Chris Paul because I just want to continue to give him his flowers. I alluded to all his accolades earlier. Should have been a Laker. Should have had a different ending to his career. I hate that it ended this way, but still one of the greatest players to ever step foot on a basketball court. So shout out Chris Paul. Wish it could have ended differently.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that will do it for this episode of the Restricted Area Podcast. Thanks, Colton, for being on. And follow the show's YouTube at CX Restricted Area. Follow the CX crew on all socials at CX Pod Network. You can follow me on Twitter at The Will Deal and Colton at Colt_45. That's 3 T's, by the way. And thank you all for listening and watching. And until next week, like the Dame Lillard 3-point contest, be smooth.